We have to be open-minded when we're drafting in the double-digit rounds of our fantasy drafts. We have to think about upside. We have to think about the player pool. We got to think about the market. We have to think of what we're willing to do here in the next few weeks once we're into the season, when some of these players start to break down, some of the players on the waiver wire start to pop off. Who are we willing to send off? Who are we willing to keep on our rosters? Everything in between. Also, when we look at the player pool, the trend line is, over the last few years, we've been drafting running backs. There's a lot of handcuffed running backs. There's a lot of middling running backs. There's a lot of rookies. There's a lot of upside there that's perceived to hit in the back end of those drafts. And granted, a lot of those players do hit, and a lot of those players do fall on their face. But we're taking those shots on those running backs to really fill out the back end of our roster, to really hope when we swing for that fence that we land a big one, especially since the running back position has been so herky-jerky throughout the years. A running back that everyone's been excited about these last few weeks during preseason has been Tank Bigsby. And you got to be excited about this offense. They got Trevor Lawrence. They drafted him in the 3rd round. They moved the football. They've been looking good. They also got Travis Etienne. This team's been explosive. And you also want running backs who are on good offenses, because running backs who are on offenses that can continue to move the chain can constantly help you get fantasy points because they're on the field more. They're in red zone situations more. And that's something good to look at. But looking at the stats here for Tank Bigsby, there's a lot of good things here. But before we look at it, though, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because you need to. You need to hit that subscribe button so you can stop missing out on this information about these players, the rankings, the waiver wire help that we provide every week, the statistical information that we dig up from all these sites to share with you guys to help you make your decisions. We talk about process. We talk about strategy. We look at rookies. We look at high school ball. We look at everything. Devi. It's all right there. Hit that button so you don't miss out any more of this content. But let's look at Tank Bigsby. High-end 4-star recruit coming out of high school. Everybody was in love with him. He was a mauler coming out of high school. A very physical running back prospect. Fun guy to watch. Then went to Auburn. In their conference record, the last 3 years, or 3 years he was there, 11-15. Not the best team in the SEC. Not the strongest team in the SEC, especially those last 2 years. They were 3rd worst in run block grade. It wasn't great for him. It was tough sledding for Tank Bigsby in the SEC. He had a 1,000-yard season and 900-some-yard season to cap off his career. But he was productive. He was productive. And he's a decent pass blocker with a 70-plus pass block grade in 7 out of 10 games last year per PFF. So we do have some goods to hang our hat on. A lot of this makes us think, how can he be productive at the NFL level? 1, he's dependable. Can pass block, can run it between the tackles. He's got size, which will allow him to be on the field. Looking at how Jacksonville likes to do things, they average 125 rushing yards per game, which is very solid in this day and age at the NFL. They are in single back formation 97.1% of the time, so usually one running back is back there. Pass block situations, they might want to have him, but they also want Etienne out there too, because he's explosive. You can put him out in the flat, he can get you a lot of yards. 2.1% of the times they have more than one running back out on the field, so that's something you want to note. However, at this position and where we're drafting him at in the double-digit rounds, it's more about running back fragility. Travis Etienne, can he play a full season? Really, you don't want to bet on any running back doing that, do you? Think about that. You don't want to bet on any running back. He's been injured before. We're not betting on him getting hurt, but we know about the fragility of the running back position, so you want talented backups. Jacksonville said, hey, this guy's talented, so we drafted him on day 2 of the NFL draft. We think he's talented enough to help us out. They only target running backs on 13.3% of their passing attempts. Well, I mean Trevor Lawrence per se, but still. But looking at the overall usage here, when James Robinson was on the field last year, he had a 22% opportunity share. He was getting opportunity, however, he only appeared in 7 games. It was Travis Etienne's offense. James Robinson was on the move. Again, they were trying to use other running backs, but Etienne, 26% opportunity share. maybe some of this can go to Bigsby, but we're not expecting it to be the 1A to 1B. We're really drafting him more due to fragility concerns, due to if something happens to Travis Etienne, we have a prominent running back prospect in a very prominent situation. So more so, look at this as, if something happens to Etienne, a lot of this opportunity share is going to go to Bigsby. And even if Bigsby's not hitting to his upside and efficiency standpoint, he's probably going to get you production still due to the standpoint that this offense can move the football and they're going to allow him to be on the field. And looking at his prospect profile, we got him drafted in the 3rd round. 3rd round draft capital, day 2 in this day and age is pretty solid. And looking at this, 6 foot, 210 pounds, has enough size. And then when you watch him on tape, he does have the power to get the job done. Finishes a lot of his runs. Going over here, looking at the metrics, 73rd percentile size adjusted athleticism. Good enough. Good enough to get the job done. That's all I got to say. It's just good enough. 4.5 speed. Good enough to get the job done. When we talk about his characteristics, he's okay at everything. He's good at everything. He can get the job done at everything. However you want to describe it, however you want to package that up, when it comes to run between tackles, good enough. Run it outside, okay. Catch the ball in the backfield, okay. He's not exceptional really at anything. Pass blocking, okay. Just okay at everything. It's going to allow him to be dependable. It's going to allow him to be multifaceted in the offense. Going to allow the team to really build around him if something happens to Etienne. A good serviceable running back that can get you some production. If shit hits the fan here in Jacksonville, that's something you want to look at here in double-digit rounds. Again, these are backup running backs we're looking at, or guys in committees, or RB1s who are usually not productive that we're looking at here in this range. Think of the price range, not overall. But overall here, when we look at this part of the draft, round 10, 11, 12, 13, we're hammering cheap running backs with upside. Tank Bigsby does have some upside. He's in an offense with a ton of upside. He's a young rookie. He does have some goods in his games. He can score touchdowns in the red zone. He's a powerful running back. He can hold it down as the main running back if something happens to Etienne. And maybe he gives you volatile production with Etienne in there still, because they're going to allow him to get some opportunity in the red zone. They're going to allow him to get some short yardage opportunity. They're going to be splitting these guys off and on. It might be a split that I'm not going to project, but I think Etienne will have a bigger role in the beginning. But Tank Bigsby is going to have something. But you also got a lot of other jabroni running backs you want to hammer on. Damon Harris, Elijah Mitchell, Jarrett McKinnon, Raheem Mostert, Tyler Algier. It's the same story with a lot of these guys, and I'll probably have similar videos with a lot of these guys coming out. But again, when we're in this part of the draft, you want to think about process. The process here, look at the wide receivers. How good do you feel about that? You might want to be good and built at the wide receiver position before you get to the double-digit rounds, and you just pound out some of these running backs. You get a good 3 to 4 of them as you finish up your draft. You round it out on the back end of your depth chart. So if there's injuries in weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, you got somebody who can step up. You got an extra running back. You got a running back you can deal. You got a running back to use in your lineup. You got some extra value there. Or, say one falls on his face, or someone hits on the waiver wire and you want to get rid of somebody. It's easier to get rid of, like, a running back who's not really a good placeholder, or you just got there for upside anyways, like, say, a Kenneth Gainwell or something. You can really make that move. It's not going to hurt you too bad. It's not going to hurt you in the stomach. You can really pivot from that. You got to think about strategy, what the waiver wire will look like for you here in the next few weeks as you're making these draft picks. Usually it's similar for all these players, a lot of these players in this range. But again, if you draft some roster cloggers in this area, that might hurt you more than they help you, even though they're scoring some fantasy points, because they need to score you enough fantasy points to help you win your matchup. Again, you need Tank Bigsby if you want to capitalize on unknown upside. This guy could go nuclear. I'm not betting on it, but he could. That's not outside the realm of possibilities. The realm of possibilities says there's going to be some spike weeks. If something happens to Etienne, he's going to give you some good production because this offense is fueled to give him good production. That's just in the cards. But there is unknown upside here that you may want to tap into. Your 0 RB, hero RB team, and you're just pounding running backs here in the back end. He's just one of them, and you're just going after it. You need running back depth, so you're going after a running back like this. and maybe you can get some weeks out of him, and you want those potential spike weeks as it is. You want to shoot on those. You want to shoot for those upside games, and you're really chasing those huge point weeks when he's in a plus matchup, and you're just hoping he crosses the end zone, hoping he catches a few balls, and you work off that. You don't need him if you're screwed at wide receiver, and you got to pound it out here in the back half of your draft and get some wide receivers, get some upside. You got to look for that. You're scared of volatility. You don't want to get that running back who's in an offense with another good running back, and you got to pray that he crosses the goal line and hope for this and hope for that. Also, you don't want him if you're not patient for rookies, because it might take some time. You might be watching him in a few games start a season, might not be getting enough carries for your liking or whatnot. Typically, rookies tend to pop off or have their moments as the opportunity starts to come to them. That's just common sense. If you're not patient for that, you may want to get a veteran that has some upside, or a veteran that you feel comfortable with, but maybe rookies are not for you. Maybe chasing upside's not for you, and that's okay. You have to strategize with what you're willing to do in your league and how you feel too, because even if you chase upside in players, but you can't stomach it, and you start going FOMO, that may not work best for you, because you're going to start making deals you shouldn't make, start making moves you shouldn't make, start cutting bait on players too early, and all that stuff. So you really have to tailor your draft process to how you play the game and how you feel in season. But if you like to gamble on players, drafting rookie running backs, double-digit rounds, easy gambles to make. Easy gambles to make, especially ones with size, known for catching passes, in good offenses, in ambiguous situations, in a situation where if something happens to the main running back and they get inserted in there, you know they can give you some production. Tank Bigsby is a guy you at least got to look at, along with a bunch of other running backs. There's just a lot of good ones out there here in double-digit rounds that you can really stack up on and see what happens throughout the season. But let me know what you think in the comments below. I want to hear about it. Hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you on the next video.